Let's talk about lubrication of wire ropes, since it is essential to prolonging the life or the operating life of any wire rope. And first of all, you should consult your rope manufacturer for lubricants designed specifically for operating rope or standing rope. And to show you the difference between the operating rope and a standing rope, I'm going to use the following picture. This is the picture of a drive mechanism of an overhead crane, and you will see that this rope right here, this is a standing rope because it doesn't move much and it's attached to a point on the crane. And then this rope, even though it's the same rope that goes around the sheave of the crane here at the hook, and it goes and it wraps around the drum, it's still the same rope, but this rope is called operating rope. So one more time, this is standing rope and this is operating rope. When the wire rope is manufactured, it receives adequate lubrication for initial storage and operation, but during the rope's working life, it must be lubricated regularly according to the rope manufacturer's instructions. If the rope is not lubricated properly, there will be excessive corrosion developing inside the wire rope, and that causes embrittlement. Also, since the wire rope bends and runs over over sheaves, there is frictional wear between the wires as the strands move together during the operation. And therefore, it is important to always use the correct lubricants for wire rope, and for types of lubricants you should refer to the manufacturer specifications. Millwright manual describes several ways of cleaning and lubricating wire ropes, and they're fairly straightforward as you read through them. But one thing to keep in mind is when you are cleaning wire rope, you should not be using gasoline or kerosene, since too much of this will remove the internal lubrication. You should be instead using a light penetrating cleaner to soften the built-up grime before removing it. One of the methods of lubricating a wire rope is brush or spray application, as seen in this picture. Even though it's a tedious process, but it gives you ample amount of time for inspection as you are re-lubricating the wire rope. All wire rope should be rolled in a coil or on a spool and stored in dry place away from extreme heat and moisture. When removing a length of wire rope from spools or coils, it is a good practice to have the spool positioned on some kind of spindle and then pull the wire rope straight out. Or you can unroll the spool, running it along the shop floor. And if it's wrapped in the wire, or if the wire rope is coiled, then you can roll the coil along the shop floor and then cut the wire to needed length. In any case, the wire rope should not be taking off the side of the spool, as this often results in kinks. And as you're aware, once a kink has been made, the damage is permanent and a weak spot remains, and no matter how well the rope is straightened, you must discard that section of kinked wire rope. In this video, I would like to show you the proper way of unwinding a wire rope off a spool. And I've got the spool right here, and I'm using fiber rope, but it will represent the wire rope. And the proper way to unwind a length of wire rope is shown in this video. I've got my spool resting on some kind of pipe. It represents a spindle that the spool will rotate around. So in that case, I'm just going to pull the wire rope straight out while the spool is rotating, and I'm going to walk away with the wire rope until the needed length is achieved. Some people, they try to make a shortcut and remove the wire rope off the flange, but what happens in those cases is I'm creating a kink, as you can see in the video right there, in this part. That becomes a kink in the wire rope, and as you are aware, when the kink is made in the wire rope, it has to be cut down. It has to be cut out and discarded. So the proper way is shown in this video, very simple, using some kind of spindle or piece of pipe. We can also take the spool out and unroll this spool along the shop floor. Once you removed a length of rope from a spool or a coil, you need to cut it to a certain size, and before cutting, the wire rope ends must be seized. Seizing means binding the ends of the wire rope on each side of the cut before the cut is performed. There are different ways of seizing. You can get a friction tape and wrap around on each end of the cuts. You can get a light wire and you can twist the wire around the strands, or you can brace the ends before making the final cut. Seizing both ends of a rope prevents steel wires from loosening. When replacing wire ropes on cranes, you must be able to determine proper anchoring point on the drum. If the wire rope is attached improperly on the drum or to the drum, the improper attachment will cause the loaded rope to climb over the neck strap and pile up on itself. To determine correct anchoring point on a drum or a spool, you have to apply a rule of hand, which is explained in this short video. As you are watching the following video, please be aware that the rope being left lay rope or right lay rope, it must be attached to the correct side of the flange. The rule of hand deals with what side of the flange, left side of the flange, left flange or right flange, or what side of the drum the wire rope must be attached depending on type of lay you're dealing with. If you're not attaching the wire rope to the proper side, the wire rope will climb on itself, but also as you're winding the wire rope, it will open up the strands and all the lubricants will leak out. It will wear more rapidly when it's wound to the wrong side of the spool or the drum. In this video, I would like to talk to you about proper way of winding a wire rope onto the spool. And I have a spool in front of me. This could be a drum on the overhead crane or a mobile crane that you're hiring to do some rigging. And in some cases, you have to replace a damaged wire rope, or you may just need to renew the wire rope and replace the old one. So there's a right way to do it, and I'm going to explain to you the right way of winding the wire rope onto the drum. First thing, you need to understand the types of ropes we have in the industry, and by now you should know that we either have right lay or left lay rope. And to identify the lay, if you look at the wire rope, you can see in which direction it's receding. The strands are receding. In this case, they're receding to the right, therefore it's a right lay rope. If I saw the strands receding to the left, then it would be left lay rope. then you have to remember a rule of hand. So I have two hands, right hand and left hand, for right lay rope and left lay rope. So I will be using right hand rule for right lay rope, and what it represents is my thumb represents where I'm going to attach or start the winding, and the fingers will represent the approach of the rope, and the curvature of my palm will represent whether the rope is underwound, it's going underneath the spool, or it's going to be overwound, in which case it's going to be going on top of the spool. So let's try that. I've got right lay rope by identifying it, and therefore I'm going to use right hand rule. So I'm going to use my right hand, and it looks like I have to attach the rope to the right flange according to my right thumb. So my right thumb points to it, so I'm going to attach that. And then I'm going to I'm going to try to underwind it because my curvature of my palm dictates it. So I'm going to underwind it, and the rope is going to approach in the same direction as my fingers, which is straight out that way. And then I'm going to rotate the drum in my way, it's clockwise direction. So this is the proper way to wind the right lay rope. Now I can also use my right hand to overwind the same rope, so it's a right lay rope, and I'm going to use my right hand again, in which case I'm going to overwind it. So the curvature of my hand is just like that. Okay, so again the attachment point to the drum is my thumb, therefore I'm attaching it to the left flange, standing in behind the drum. So I'm going to attach it to the left flange, and then the rope is going to be overwound. So the rope is going to go on top, and then the spool is going to rotate in counterclockwise direction. So that's the approach of the wire from this side as my fingers point, and then this is going to be the direction of the drum. Okay, so the same rule applies to left hand or left lay rope, where the finger points to the attachment point where the wire rope will have to be attached, and that in this position it's the left flange, and then it could be underwound, or if I decided to attach left leg rope to the right flange, then I have to overwind it.